everybody. This is Cory Vino, spending some time in the kitchen to do some pandemic cooking. I am, you might not realize this, Julia Child's older, not quite as handsome, nephew.
When we make Coq Au Vin, alias chicken fricassee, today on the French Chef.
I'm here today to go through a recipe, one of Julia's favorite, called Coq Au Vin. This recipe is in her cookbook called Mastering the Art of French Cooking, which can be purchased at the Bayfield Village Bookshop. You need some button mushrooms, Italian flat parsley, flour. They call for pearl onions, but today we're going to be using shallots, bacon. What kind of a meal is any good without bacon? A little bit of butter, some crushed garlic, and of course the star of the dish, the chicken. I've marinated it in wine with some parsley stems, some thyme, some bay leaves. You don't want to use wine that you wouldn't drink yourself. So my suggestion is get out 3 bottles of wine, because you know you're going to at least use 2. You taste all 3 of them. The one that you like the best, you keep that for yourself, because you're going to want to drink while you're making this meal. And then use the other 2 bottles of wine as your marinade. In addition to that, you need some brandy or some French cognac, as well as some stock. Today we're using Cory Vino's mushroom stock. While we're waiting for the bacon to poach a little bit, one of the things that you'll want to do is to deflour or defrock the thyme stems that were in the marinade. So I'm removing the poached bacon, straining it out, and putting it into a dish. So many people say that French cooking is very difficult. Quite honestly, it's just a few more steps than a good old meal KD. We're gonna crisp this up a little bit before we add the chicken. As the bacon is slightly browned, it's time to remove from the dish. One might say that my outfit is a little pretentious. I've got to agree. However, on the other hand, I've heard cooks called the naked chef in the kitchen. Not a smart idea when you're about to sear your chicken on either side. You're going to add some seasoning, some salt and pepper. When that's done, you're going to add the bacon back in, and we're going to stick it into the oven to cook for a bit. We're at the point where we're going to add back the bacon, cover your dish, and place it into a preheated oven at 300 degrees for 10 minutes. You have to flip the chicken once, so set your timer for 5 minutes and pull it out and flip it. I'm now warming the cognac. As Aunt Julia would say to her prince every night, courage, you have to have courage.
You just have to have the courage of your convictions.
And flambe. Or not. Flambe. Or not.
Well, that didn't go very well.
And you flambe it. Whoa! Then it goes back into the oven, covered for half an hour. And before you put it in the oven, you remove the lid for a second time, add the wine from the marinade, cover the meat, which is important. You then use Cory Vino's mushroom stock. And into the oven it goes for 30 minutes. It's very important to have clean hands in a kitchen and during pandemic cooking. First, wet your hands, apply a bit of soap. I prefer lavender. Frère Jacques, I forget the rest of it. How about happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. Don't forget to get in between your fingers. Remember to turn the top off with your elbow. Grab some paper towels to dry your hands. So we're about to saute the onions and mushrooms. A little trick is add a little bit of olive oil to your pan first. Allow that to heat up in your pan before you add your butter.
Woo.
Don't be shy. Ooh, hear that sizzle. You turn the heat down and move over to your next frying pan, which will be to saute the mushrooms. Add your butter. Now that the butter's melting, just add your mushrooms to the pan. So now that the mushrooms have been sauteed, transfer them to a bowl, transfer the sauteed onions. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Now with clean hands, you can scoop probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter into, I would say, a cup of flour. Take your hands and gently squish the butter into the flour. This will take a couple seconds, but it will form a nice mushy bowl. And you can add some thyme that's been defloured earlier. 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. What would happen if one of them fall? 98 bottles of beer on the wall, 5 bottles of beer. What would happen if one of them fall? Whew. 4 bottles of beer on the, oh hell, that's enough. So we've taken the chicken out of the sauce that it was cooking in. We have skimmed the fat off of the top. Take some hot juices, put it into a bowl. Take a bit of the flour dough that we have made, put it into the hot sauce, and with a wire whisk, stir it around. And repeat this process until all of the dough has been dissolved into the sauce. Once you have all of the flour dough blended with a wire whisk into your sauce, and pour it into the remaining on the stove. Look how velvety that is. Nothing like a wire whisk to make that work so well. Turn up the heat just a tad. Constantly stir it with a wire whisk to reduce the sauce to the right consistency. So now we have everything ready for assembly. We have our sauteed mushrooms and onions. We have our lovely sauce. And we have the cooked chicken that has the bacon lard olives in it. Push the chicken into the center of your pan. Take your onions and mushrooms, arrange them around the side of the dish. Take clots of butter. There's a reason why they call it a clot of butter, because I think it causes arterial clots in humans. Take your sauce, pour it over the top of the chicken as it will then ooze out to the sides, warming the butter so it melts onto the mushrooms and onions. Take some parsley and gently place it around the side. So there you have it. Julia Child's Coq Au Vin chicken stew made by Cory Vino, her older yet less handsome nephew.
That's all for today on The French Chef. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit!
It's a good time that we get our things organized over here for a little bit of prep time, but nothing that's... I did a little prep for this chicken the night before, whereby there was a barmaid from Sale who on her chest had the prices of ale. And for the sake of the blind, on her behind was precisely the same thing in Braille. That doesn't work.